Previously on Fabulous.
First of all, what is conflict? What is conflict in marriage? Or what would you describe as a conflict?
Conflict is misunderstanding. Misunderstanding between two people or two groups of people. So in marriage, there's a misunderstanding between a wife and a husband. That's conflict.
Okay. Hello, welcome to another episode of Fabulous, the family-focused channel, which is all about helping you, assisting you with the ideas to have better African families. Today we are looking at the hot topic of raising children. A lot of us say the olden days, the good old days. Now, what is the difference between what our parents did to us and what we are doing to our children? What must we know? What must we do? Author Robert Fulgham said, don't worry that your children never listen to you. Worry that they are always watching you. Now, if they are always watching you, what must you do so that we can raise generational thinkers and leaders who come and change African societies? What are the few tricks that those who've done it can show us? Today on the show, on Fabulous, we have Mrs. Flora Saki. She's a retired educationist, a mother of 5 and grandmother of 14. Now, if she did it, what can you and I learn from her? Stay tuned. Let's now turn our attention to my pet subject, raising children. Is there a difference between, for instance, you raise children and today you watch them raise your grandchildren? Do you see a difference?
Yes, I see a lot of differences because the times have changed.
Okay.
There are some things that a source of temptation to the modern generation. When I was raising my children, there were no cell phones.
Yes.
There were no all those obvious things that. So if sometimes the children come and visit and you realize that they are caught up in their own world.
Yeah.
Everybody is holding their phone, their this, and they don't even
catching up.
Yes. So in our time, no. And my children's time, they read more books. I mean, they brought books to the house and they competed as to who would read this and who would read that. But this time around, they don't. Yeah. And you have to force them to. We do too much for them. As one day, is it John Maxwell? He said, you pay the school fees. He has a career. You marry for him. You buy a house for him. You buy a car for him. So what is he to do? He has nothing to do.
Yeah, he's just enjoying. And that's what has also generated this sense of entitlement in the children of today. Because parents do everything for them. So they begin to now think everything that they want, they must have. They must get it.
I think I read the case where I think the father bought houses for 3 children and at different times. And then the one who had his first claimed that the last person has a bigger house than he was given.
So it was not enough to be given a house. The size mattered. Wow.
So the thing that you owe them, life owes them everything.
Wow.
And the way your children work, you do things. You do things around the house. You sweep, weed. You do okay, but this time around, and the thing is that the times they spent at home. I was a teacher, and I had a lot of time on my hands.
Okay.
Yeah, if the day that I had a full, schedule, by 3 o'clock I'll be home.
Okay.
So from 3 o'clock to the end of the day, I'm there.
Around
I was just telling that one of my daughters is a banker. Sometimes she comes home at 10 p.m.
Whoa.
By the time you come home at 10 p.m., a lot has taken place in your absence, and you don't even have the strength to go into some little details about how the children are. You are tired. You are human.
Yeah. So share with us your secret. You raised 5 children. I'll add the word successful because I know some of them. What was the secret? What did you do?
The secret was my niece, actually.
Oh, your niece.
I raised 5 children on my knees.
Ah,
praying.
Okay.
There was a time when, my husband was not in a position to help. So my life was more like a single mother.
Wow.
And I had to raise them. And so I was praying.
Whoa.
I think I used to say that for some time, 20 years, for some 20 years, personal all night was my normal life.
Wow.
I would do all night.
For 20 years.
20 solid years.
Personal all night
was my normal life.
Wow.
And I think that the Lord also used that to prepare me for ministry. So I was praying. So we prayed about everything. I had there was a lot of warfare to do. Prayed about food. Prayed about clothing. We prayed about school fees. We prayed about everything that we needed. We went to the Lord. I stood on Isaiah 54 verse 5 says your maker is your husband. So sometimes I would I used to go to the market on Saturdays. I'll make a list and then I tell the Lord, you are my husband. This is the list. And then the Lord will provide. There was one time, a Friday, I would needed to go to the market on Saturday. And there was nothing. So I was just there and I heard a car, enter our yard. And then there was this friend of mine who was she was the manager of a bank.
Wow.
And Friday afternoon, for a manager of a bank
to
leave her office and come to your house on a Friday afternoon, it's only a miracle.
Yes. Divine.
The Lord provided.
Divine
sometimes school fees, sometimes when they are sick, everything that we needed. And then because I prayed for them, so I was motivated to pray ahead about their career, about their social lives, about their marriages, future marriages, and it has all worked. Yes,
indeed, I can testify to that because in school, Robert was one of the grounded guys. And so I can testify to the fact that he was grounded. He was coming from a good place.
We had to pray together, and so many things the Lord provided. Seriously, One time, and then as I also prayed, there was also responsibilities. I was not just sitting home, and then the Lord was bringing the things. He would, open doors for me to minister to people, do things and all that. And sometimes the Lord will ask you to do some things. I remember I was one of the leaders of the Baptist Convention, women's fellowship, and we had a national camp. And I was one of the leaders, so I was at the high table, and there was, fundraising. I had to pledge some money. I pledged the money, and I didn't know where it was going to come from. So I prayed, and the Lord enabled me to pray to pay it before.
Wow.
And then a certain lady in the group came to see me. She had heard of our struggles and our plight, so I told her, and she brought me money and food and some materials. And then she said she has a friend who could pay one of the children's school fees. That girl, she was in the JSS, JSS 1. I paid the fees for the first time, and the woman took over from 3. And that same time, when she was in Achimota school, that was also working on staff in my church. And then they decided that all the senior staff, they will pay one child's school fees. So I paid for a year or so, and then the rest they took it.
Wow.
Sometimes one time I was praying, one of my girls was going to go to school, and there was nothing. I prayed, nothing was coming. So one afternoon I heard the car park in the compound, and there was a friend's husband. He said, since his wife started attending the fellowship in my house, she has changed and everything. So he was happy, and he was planning some money for me.
Wow.
But for 3 nights, the Lord would not let him sleep. Go and give the money to Flora. So he came with the money, and he had written on the envelope, "From your Father in heaven."
So this is a direct response to your using Isaiah to pray.
Yes.
Wow.
I'll pray about it. It was not, and I tell the people that God is not like a magician
Yeah.
or like some electric button that you press and then what you want comes. No, he trains us. So sometimes you pray for some things and it will take time. Remember one Sunday morning I had planned that after church there will be some little money for Monday morning, and then when I was called for full time, I left the classroom. I was on full time and I was not on any salary. For 4 years I wasn't on any salary and I was looking after 5 children.
Whoa.
Just praying. So I went to church and I planned that the little money that will be left, I will use that for Monday morning, and then the rest of the time I also find out, deal with him up there to see what the Lord will do. So when the offering basket was being passed, and the Lord said, put the money in it. It was an August morning, but I was perspiring. Hey, I sweat in heavy drops. The money that I planned that I will use Monday morning, the Lord said, put it inside. But he enabled me to obey. So I put the money in the so when we were closed, and then a friend of mine called me and said, Flora, we were praying about some projects. And he said, the money for the project is in. Wow. I was planning to bring it to you during the week, but during the church service, the Lord said I should give you the money. So let's go. And the money was enough to pay fees. I was for a month. And the Lord is faithful.
Is that why he says that we should try him and see what he will do?
Yes.
Wow.
So their school work, I prayed about it. I remember my firstborn, she topped the whole nation for common entrance. She had 2 boys. So she went to secondary school and she was a prize winner from Form 1 to Upper 6. She's now a medical doctor. And the Lord, showed me a lot of things to pray about. But Robert, when he was doing his common entrance, I was praying. And I saw that Jesus was like an invigilator going through and he was kicking out rats, cats, dogs and all that. So these are the things that fight our children even at this level. So from then on, after the first one who sat, I was a teacher then, and our school was used as a center for so I didn't go to school. So I prayed for her first paper, and then I felt like, why don't you pray throughout the length, during the examination. And I learned that secret. So anytime they were taking exams, if it was 3 hours, I'll pray 3 hours. Whoa. It was 1 hour, and it worked.
I need that grace.
It worked. Yeah, it worked. So there are 3 medical doctors, and the other 2 all have masters.
Whoa.
Yes.
Out of the 5.
On my knees.
Wow.
Then I also prayed about their future marriages. They are married with children. Unfortunately, one of my daughters lost her husband last year, but the Lord is still in control.
It will come good for her and turn her mourning into dancing.
Yes.
Wow.
So it's been still, I saw the reality of crime. I mean, God is real. Jesus is real. He can relate to us like, friend to friend, father and child and all that.
Thank you very much for staying with us, for watching and for subscribing to this channel. This is Famless, the family-focused TV channel for the African family. What we do here is to provide content that will help you to live a fulfilled, happy, successful life. Famless, nihil interest, sisi sui. Nothing matters except one's family.
Next on Famlo.
Practically at home, today and in our work at Lead Africa, a lot of parents come to us and say, how do I handle sibling rivalry between this and that? How did you handle that among the 5 children? What did you see it first of all, and if you did, how did you handle it?
Not much. Not the one secret I learned was that when you lead the children to Christ and you get them involved, the Lord takes over.
Okay.
So you don't have too many. I didn't have a lot of raising character issues and all that. Yes.